Good morning, PSE, 1948 SEIU. I don't know about you, but my breath was taken away by your president, Charlotte Schindler, and your executive director, George Dawkins. That was a powerful opening this morning, wasn't it? So thank you so much for tolerating my 19th century address from the podium, as opposed to the cool kids who walked around without any notes down there. Next time I come, we'll see if I can pass that test, okay? But we'll hang with me up here, will you? Okay, thank you very much. I really want you to know how much I appreciate your President Charlotte Schindler's leadership on SEIU's International Executive Board. Charlotte brings an incredibly clear voice for the issues that classified employees face in this state, but also around the nation, because PSE has been so innovative in connecting classified school workers all across this country. And the second thing Charlotte does is always raise her hand and talk about whether we are being intentional and clear about including everybody in our union. And I just want to thank Charlotte Schindler from leading from her commitment to including everybody in this union. She's amazing, yeah. So like many of you, I first got active in the union because I saw it as a place to live out the values that my parents taught me. The value of faith, the value of service, and the value of responsibility. I grew up in Michigan in a Catholic family of 10 children, and I saw two things based on that experience as the oldest girl in that family of 10 that brought families together. Our church brought families together. I had many moms in that church, couldn't get away with anything because somebody always had their eyes on me. And in my community, the union brought all kinds of working people and their families together in Detroit. I saw how a union made it possible for the people who worked at Ford, GM, and Chrysler to unite together and use their strength in numbers to stand up for a better life for themselves and their kids. The union gave working people the power to pull each other forward. And I think the Issaquah School District and the Richland School District stories we just heard were an incredible example of that. That being able to pull each other forward is a fundamental American value. And America's strength comes from our ability to work together, to knit together a landscape of people, no matter where we come from or what the color of our skin. All of us want the same thing for our families. We want a fair shot at a decent life. We want good health for our families, and we want a secure future for our kids. When working people join together in a union, we gain the power to protect those values. Sisters and brothers, we just heard from your president and executive director that it's more important than ever that we stick together in our union because our values are under attack. Corporations and wealthy special interests and the politicians they buy are trying to distract us with fear-mongering. They want to divide us based on what we look like, where we come from, or how we worship. They think that if they keep us divided, they can keep the rules rigged in their favor and continue to enrich themselves. They want to defund public schools and get rid of health care so they can hand out more tax breaks to the rich. They want to strip away our rights as working people to negotiate in a union. The attacks coming at us are very serious. They are sophisticated, they're well-funded, because corporations and billionaires are writing checks to pay for them. That's why it's deeply inspiring to see what the leaders in this room of PSE are doing to come together, not just to defend your organization, but to expand it and make it stronger. You know that our union's strength comes from each and every member. Your decision to invest in our members, to put training and resources into lifting up chapter-level leaders will strengthen PSE from the chapter level up for decades to come. Your decision to hold yourself accountable to set new chapter characteristics, a shared unity of purpose, openness to learning, acting with the courage of our convictions, and a commitment to inclusion shows your determination as a union to bring these basic values to life. You know that knowledge is power. It's incredibly impressive to see PSE investing in new tools and technology. You're making it easier for fellow members to get information from our union whenever they need it by putting it on our phones and computers. At a time when corporate special interests trying to put up barriers to make it harder for people to join the union, you're making it faster and easier for new hires to join PSE by signing up digitally. You're keeping pace with how working people communicate today. Your new Hustle text program will make it easier for PSE members to communicate with your coworkers at each chapter, keeping the information and communications, the lifeblood of the union, flowing. It's this kind of innovation and thinking about what's coming over the horizon that powers PSE's ability to make breakthroughs. It's exciting to see how PSE paraeducators are breaking new ground to win respect for your work. Congratulations to every paraeducator in this room on making Washington the first state to lead the way towards standards and training structures for paraeducators. Will the paraeducators please stand up in this room? All the paraeducators. We care about your work. We see you. George, they're visible. Congratulations on winning recognition from ASAE for all of these achievements. Go PSE. We are tooting your horn all across the nation and helping other states who want to make the same thing possible for paraeducators be able to replicate and build on what you've done. PSE members deserve to be proud of these victories and all of the improvements you are winning. That's the power of our union. Each of us plays a part in building that power. What makes us proud of our union is knowing that by joining together, we can change our jobs, we can build our families, and invest in our communities. You've lived this. You know a union is about wages and benefits, but it's also about having a say in the kinds of services you deliver to the kids in your community. And we know that too many working moms and dads are falling behind and living paycheck to paycheck, even as corporations they work for are making staggering profits. Too much wealth is in too few hands. And we know that too many Americans don't have a way to negotiate for a fairer return on their work and for the basic dignity and respect that you fight for every day. Because corporations and some of the politicians they've bought and paid for are fighting to keep working people out of unions. Corporations know that unions give working people the power to fight for better pay, for affordable health care coverage, for vacations. So those corporations fight tooth and nail to keep people out of unions. If PSE members and other union members want to have a more powerful voice when we negotiate contracts or when you head to Olympia to get more funding for education, we have to help more people join in unions. If we want to have a real check and balance against the power of corporations in our economy and democracy, we have to help more people join together in unions. If we want an economy that works for everybody in this country, not just the wealthy few, then we have to help more people join together in unions. That's why I'm excited to see how PSE and other SEIU local unions in the state of Washington are taking the lead when it comes to building a more powerful voice for working families in the Pacific Northwest. PSE strengthened your voice by uniting with the professional and technical staff from Federal Way Public Schools. PSE is also joining forces with public employees from SEIU Local 9 to 5 for paraeducators to expand union training for K-12 workers. And beyond K-12 schools, SEIU 9 to 5 members are fighting to expand their union to include child care workers and higher education workers that are adjunct faculty and grad students. Members of SEIU Local 6, and we have the wonderful president of SEIU Local 6 with us here today, continue to fight for better jobs for janitors and security officers and for all the airport workers at SeaTac. It is amazing that the support of every SEIU member in this state is beginning to end poverty wage jobs at SeaTac Airport once and for all. Yeah, very big deal. The long-term care workers of SEIU 775 are organizing non-union nursing home workers in Pierce County so they can fight for a better life for themselves and the people they care for in the nursing homes. When I was in Detroit just this past week, 500 nursing home workers were gathering together to make the case to state legislators that there were not enough staff in the nursing homes to provide proper care and attention to the seniors that they love. And frankly, the stories that I heard from those nursing home leaders are much like the stories I heard here this morning. I know that each and every one of you in this room, as Charlotte said, doesn't go to work because you expect to be rich. You go to work because you care about the children of this state and want to do everything in your power to make sure they get a good quality public education. And that's what the workers inside of SEIU all across this state care about. Like the nurses and hospital workers of SEIU 1199 Northwest have expanded their union to include clinic workers and other hospital workers. 2 more clinics recently joined 1199 in King County. They just settled their first Spokane hospital contract for a group that organized last year, and now they're growing to include people from Kalispell, Montana, and the registered nurses there voted overwhelmingly to join their union a few weeks ago. Yeah, somebody wants to clap for that? Let's clap for that. I hope the Montanans in the room are not mad about how I pronounce Kalispell. I don't know if I did it right. Perfect? Okay, good. But these are critical steps. Our nursing home workers, our home care workers, the janitors, security officers, airport workers, the classified school employees, child care workers, and higher education workers make up the broader SEIU family in Washington State. And we have to think about how to build on the success that our union has had, given the attacks that we've been facing, and figure out a way to make it possible for not just dozens and thousands of workers to join together in unions, but how do we make it possible for millions more workers to join in unions? We know that public opinion is on our side. Huge numbers of Americans want to join a union, but they can't find a way in. The door to the union seems closed to most workers because corporations have changed the rules to make it very difficult to join together. Experts estimate that nearly half of working Americans can't get to the negotiating table because corporate lobbyists have written them out of the law. Unfair laws keep us from joining together because jobs have been franchised. So in fast food, if there's a franchise owner, the CEO of McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King can say they're not my employees because the store is operated by a franchise owner. And that's a way the law got written to avoid unionization for 4 million fast food workers in this country. Or work has been subcontracted. The million workers that Local 6 is organizing at SeaTac, those jobs used to be good, family-sustaining jobs where people had pensions and health care and their kids could do better than they've done. All those jobs got subcontracted in the 80s by the airlines. They're now poverty jobs. No guaranteed schedules, minimum wage, no health care, no time off, no pension. And so organizing the subcontractors is being done around the law and getting the airlines to agree to recognize the workers through an agreement with employers. And so those are the ways in which workers have been blocked from being able to join together in unions. And then we turn on our smartphones and we hire people to do work like drive or deliver something, and none of those jobs are covered by current labor law. So a generation ago, 4 in 10 American workers were in unions. And when they negotiated raises, wages went up for everybody in the economy. Now, 1 in 10 American workers are in unions, and that's why wages have been stagnant for 40 years. And as you know all too well, corporations want to make it hard for people who work for the government and schools to have a union. It's long past time to rewrite the rules so everyone has the right to join together and negotiate for better wages and benefits. That's why all SEIU locals around the country are uniting to make a political demand in every election that calls for unions for all. Yeah, that's what we want to do. Unions for All is our fight to push elected representatives at every level of government from any party to update our laws to make sure all working people are free to join a union no matter what kind of work we do. Unions for All will be our first priority whenever somebody's running for office and asks for our help. Every candidate has to tell us their plan to empower workers to form unions. We need to know what their plan is to help us increase our bargaining power so we can get the funding that K-12 schools need to thrive. SEIU is calling on every candidate running for president to put forward a detailed plan for what they would do as president to strengthen workers' right to unite together in unions. And some of them are starting to step up. Last week, your governor, Jay Inslee, released a plan through the presidential campaign that would get rid of many of the obstacles that stop people from organizing today. One of his 3 examples that Inslee proposed is that we empower people working across entire sectors to be able to negotiate with the corporations in that sector to set basic standards for wages and benefits. So remember that example I gave you about how McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King have set up a franchise system because they say they're not the employer, that the employer is the franchise owner? What this proposal from Jay Inslee would do is say, the multinational corporations who set the terms of the rent, the paper napkin price, the Coke price, the meat price, the potatoes, also should be held responsible for the wages, benefits, and working conditions of the people that they employ. Isn't that amazing? So imagine the next president of the United States looking McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King CEOs in the eye and saying, you're coming to a national bargaining table, and we expect you to respect the voices of the 4 million people doing fast food work in this country, and we're going to end poverty wage work in that sector because those same companies play by different rules in other parts of the world. In Denmark, in Sweden, and New Zealand, McDonald's workers have a union and a seat at the table at their national level, and they've transformed McDonald's poverty jobs into work that pays enough to cover their bills by working one job and expect that their kids are going to do better. McDonald's workers in Copenhagen, Denmark have a union. They're paid $20 an hour. They have a say in scheduling. They have full health care coverage and a retirement plan, and a Big Mac in Denmark only costs 5 cents more than in Seattle. And so imagine if fast food workers earn 20. Don't you think paraeducators and school employees should be at 25 or 30? It would be a way to lift the floor, don't you think? So Unions for All is about winning the power to transform bad jobs in America into decent jobs. Remember all the families that just want a fair shot at a decent life? You and I both know people are working their hearts out, and they don't want to be trapped in poverty, but there's no way out without a union. And that is the kind of fundamental change we need to win to give working people more power, so we can stand up for each other and make the economy work better for all of us. Now, sisters and brothers, we know this is not going to be easy. Every day, corporations are going to try to weaken PSE and every other local union. We're going to need to work hard every day to keep our union strong in the way that we just heard from Charlotte and George. It's critical that we talk to every new hire in every school and welcome them into our union. It's up to us to see them, as George said, to make sure everybody is visible to us and to include them, to make sure that every new coworker understands that we need them to join us to keep what we've won and to make more progress in the future. And as many of you know, the corporate-funded groups in Washington State try and stop school employees from joining PSE. Some of those groups have the word freedom in their name. How dare they? Isn't that strange? Because what they do has nothing to do with freedom. Dividing working people and taking away the power of our union doesn't make anyone free. Helping corporations keep wages down and keep people poor doesn't make anyone free. Real freedom is rooted in good jobs that allow our families to live with security and independence. The power of numbers, the power of our union, is how working people get the strength to win jobs that allow us to have our families get ahead. When we join together across our differences, we can make this country even more proud for the next generation. We can build a democracy where everybody counts and nobody's left out. We can bring about the America we want with freedom and justice for all of us. We can bring about the America with a future where everyone believes we can win. Because, sisters and brothers, I heard from your stories this morning of the strikes and the chapter building that you know when we fight, we win. When we fight, when we unite, when we go vote, when we contribute to COPE, when we reach out to new members and welcome them in. Thank you so much. I'm proud to be with you today. Thank you for the incredible work you're doing in this union. Thank you.